There's a paradox in the masculine heart that few women ever dare to explore. At first glance, it seems cruel, unnecessary even, to touch the tender place that lies beneath his pride. And yet, that place holds more power than most realize. Because a man's sexual ego is not just about performance or desire, it's about identity, worth, and the deep need to feel chosen. When you understand this, not to manipulate, but to awaken, you realize that sometimes disrupting the illusion is the only way to reach the truth. Most men carry their sexual ego like armor. They've been taught that being wanted, being praised, being seen as strong and satisfying is how they measure their value. But what no one tells them is that their deeper craving isn't just to be admired, it's to be challenged, not attacked, but seen fully. When a woman dares to disrupt the surface admiration and speaks to his unmet depths, she shakes something loose inside him. And in that moment, he no longer feels like a performer, he feels like a man. Hurt his sexual ego, not with cruelty, but with honesty. When he's lazy in bed, say so. When he disconnects, call it out. When you crave deeper intimacy, don't fake satisfaction. Reveal your hunger. Not all men can hold this kind of truth, but the ones who do, they come alive. They begin to work for you, not from pressure, but from passion. You're no longer just a mirror reflecting his greatness. You're a flame demanding more than empty desire, and he wants that. He wants to earn your surrender. He wants to deserve your pleasure. A man's sexual ego is often the most fragile part of him, even though it appears armored in confidence and certainty. It is the place where he hides his deepest insecurities and where he seeks the most validation. From a young age, many men are taught that their worth is measured by their ability to please, perform, and dominate in the bedroom. They begin to equate sexual success with personal power, and any challenge to that illusion feels like rejection. But what no one teaches them, what few women ever dare to show them, is that ego isn't where real intimacy is born. Real connection begins only after the armor cracks. When a woman challenges a man's sexual ego, not with cruelty but with clarity, it can feel like a blow at first. It stings because it pierces the identity he's built to feel strong. But if she holds that challenge with honesty and love, something deeper begins to stir within him. He may flinch, he may get defensive, but if he chooses to stay in the moment, something transformational happens. He realizes that she's not attacking him, she's inviting him to shed the performance, to stop acting like a god, and to start showing up as a human. Most men are not used to that kind of invitation. They are used to silent approval, to fake moans and quiet resentment. They're used to women avoiding confrontation out of fear of hurting their feelings. But when a woman dares to speak up and say, "I want more," or "this isn't working for me," or "I don't feel connected when we do this," she isn't rejecting him, she's reaching for him. She is saying, "I want to feel you fully. I want to go somewhere deeper with you." That moment, if he's mature enough to receive it, can crack open a part of him he's never explored. He begins to realize that sex isn't just about performance, it's about presence. Challenging his ego forces him to ask questions he may have avoided his whole life. Am I really showing up for her? Am I giving or just taking? Am I present or am I just going through motions I think she wants? These questions unsettle his ego, but they awaken his heart. And if he chooses to step into them, he begins to move from shallow pleasure to sacred connection. He starts to feel her not just as a body to conquer, but as a soul to serve. And that shift changes everything. Far from creating distance, this kind of challenge can breed an intimacy most couples never reach. Because now, sex isn't about him being admired. It's about both partners being seen. It's about mutual presence, shared vulnerability, and emotional risk. When a woman lovingly challenges a man's ego, she's giving him the opportunity to grow beyond it. And in that growth, he finds not just desire, but devotion, Praise can feel good, but truthful desire awakens something deeper in a man than flattery ever can. Praise strokes his ego. It feeds the outer shell of who he believes he should be. But desire, raw, honest, unfiltered desire, touches the part of him that wants to be chosen, not just approved. When a woman praises a man without meaning it, he senses it on a subconscious level. He may smile, act proud, or perform better for a moment, but something inside remains untouched. That part of him that wants to be seen not for his role or skills but for his real presence stays quiet. It waits for something more honest, more daring. Desire that comes from truth is rare because it asks both people to be vulnerable. It means saying, "I want you, but not like this." It means not pretending satisfaction just to protect his pride. It means allowing moments of silence instead of forced affirmation. And when a woman expresses what she truly wants, not what she thinks he wants to hear, it can be disruptive, even uncomfortable. But it also has the power to shift the entire dynamic, because now the connection is based on something real, something sacred. No longer is she a passive recipient of his effort. She becomes a mirror of what's working and what's not. And that mirror, when held with grace, makes him strive harder, not because he feels small, but because he feels seen. There is a difference between being praised and being desired. Praise is often about performance, how well he did, how long he lasted, how strong he appeared. Desire, on the other hand, is about how deeply he made her feel, how connected she felt to his energy, how present he was. A man may receive endless praise and still feel like something is missing, but one moment of honest, breathless desire, a look, a word, a gasp that wasn't performed, will echo in him far longer. That's what he craves deep down, not just to be told he's good, but to know he moved her, to feel her body and soul respond to him authentically, not performatively. Truthful desire is magnetic. It invites him to rise into something more masculine, more grounded, more generous. It also requires the woman to be in her truth, to be willing to say what isn't working without shame, and to name what would light her up. This vulnerability becomes a shared space, not a battlefield, and it is there that both lovers grow. A man who is loved with truth, not politeness, becomes a man who loves with depth. He stops chasing validation and starts chasing meaning. He stops needing to be told he's enough and starts wanting to become someone who naturally is. When a woman replaces flattery with truth and fear with clarity, the man either rises or retreats. And if he rises, he doesn't just perform, he transforms. Because there is nothing more motivating to the masculine spirit than the challenge of real, honest, feminine desire. A man's ego is often the gatekeeper between who he appears to be and who he truly is. It is the polished surface, the curated confidence, the mask he wears to feel worthy. And yet, beneath that ego lies the part of him most capable of love, the part that aches to be real, to be broken open, to be seen in his imperfection and still chosen. When a woman dares to wound that ego, not out of cruelty but out of emotional integrity, she doesn't diminish him. She introduces him to something sacred, the humility of love. And through that humility, devotion is born. Wounding the ego doesn't mean insulting or humiliating him. It means disrupting the illusion that he must always be strong, always right, always sexually invincible. It means creating a moment where his assumptions about control, dominance, or sufficiency are stripped away, and he is left standing in the truth of who he is, uncertain and vulnerable. In that moment, if he chooses not to collapse or defend, something else awakens. A deep awareness that love is not something he commands, it's something he earns, and the woman who showed him that truth becomes unforgettable. Many men live their lives seeking affirmation, especially in the sexual realm. They crave compliments, obedience, admiration, because these things prop up their identity. But when a woman lovingly challenges that identity, she breaks the spell. She stops feeding his need for performance and starts feeding his hunger for connection. He begins to sense that her approval is no longer a guarantee. It must be continuously inspired. And this inspires him. Suddenly he begins to approach her, not as a prize he's already won, but as a mystery he wants to explore, a flame he wants to keep alive, a goddess he wants to serve. What feels like an ego wound in the moment becomes the seed of reverence, because she has not worshipped him blindly, she has loved him honestly, she has seen where he falls short and still stayed. She has named her dissatisfaction and still chosen intimacy. That kind of woman is rare. She is not impressed by shallow power. She calls forth a deeper strength, one that is emotional, reflective, and grounded in truth. And in the presence of such a woman, a man begins to worship not himself, but the bond they are building. The ego wants praise. The heart wants purpose. When the ego is wounded, the heart gets louder. It starts asking better questions. How can I be better for her? How can I understand her more deeply? How can I stay connected even when it's not easy? And in searching for those answers, he becomes more devoted, not because he's afraid of losing her, but because he's in awe of what she represents. She becomes not just a lover, but a mirror, a teacher, a sacred challenge. The wound, if met with courage, becomes the source of his loyalty, and the woman who caused it becomes the one he reveres most. What seems like a threat to a man's pride can become the very catalyst for his deepest devotion. When a woman dares to lovingly confront his sexual ego, she opens the door not to distance, but to transformation. The temporary discomfort of truth leads to lasting connection. He no longer loves from a place of performance, but from presence. No longer driven by the need to be admired, he is pulled by the desire to truly connect. And the woman who awakened that shift, the one who challenged the mask and reached for the man underneath, becomes unforgettable, not because she praised him blindly, but because she loved him deeply enough to demand something real.